Welcome to Training Tuesday. I'm Rob Evans from the Warrington Training Centre, and today what we're going to look at are noise and sighting requirements for fitting a heat pump. On one of our earlier videos, we discussed one of the myths about heat pumps being noisy. Now, what we need to do is when we're installing a heat pump as part of the design phase is to make sure that the heat pump is a permitted development. Now, in essence, what that does is ensures that the noise at any assessment point is less than 42 decibels. So for example, 1 metre in front of a bedroom window of a neighbouring property is an assessment point. So the noise level emitted from a neighbouring heat pump should be less than that, a permitted development. Now, when we do the BPEC heat pump installer course or the Baxi design and application course, we go through to remind and refresh people how to work out that noise calculation. It's relatively simple to do. But what we have to do when we're thinking about noise is apply a little bit of common sense. So we're installing a heat pump. It can go anywhere on a property. But if it's a bungalow, for example, then really we don't want to install it underneath a bedroom window. Now, whilst we've been talking, the heat pump that's behind me is in full operation. So whereas people say that heat pumps are extremely noisy, I think you can agree by the noise levels that's being emitted from the heat pump that it's not excessively noisy. Now, there are a number of things that we can do by applying common sense to where we install a heat pump away from bedrooms and living rooms and so on. But what we can also do with the Baxi Heat Pump 40/50, we can put the heat pump into silent mode. So if there's a specific time where you want the heat pump to remain quiet, i.e. just before bedtime, then you can put the heat pump into silent mode, which means that the heat pump will still operate but at reduced output and at reduced noise levels. We can do that by just selecting from the options menu on the HMI silent mode and setting it like a normal programmer. And this is how we do it. So this is the HMI, the controller for the heat pump that we were just looking at behind me. So what we're going to do is go into the silent mode function. We press the menu button. Then if we scroll down to options, in the options tab, you can see there's a section called silent mode. And on that, basically what we can do is we can activate the silent mode and turn that on. And then basically what we do is we have a time where we want it to start and when we want it to end. So if you don't want the heat pump coming on just as you're going to bed, then you can program it to go quiet for that period of time while you're getting ready for bed. So that's the silent mode function, which is quite useful. The next thing we're going to take a look at is sighting requirements. Now, what's key to a heat pump working effectively is good airflow. If we restrict the airflow around a heat pump, then there isn't as much available energy for it to use, so it won't work or perform as it was intended. Now, in terms of clearances, for the Baxi range of heat pumps, for the space behind, so between the heat pump and a wall, for example, it must be a minimum of 300 millimetres. For the 4 and 5 kilowatt units, the space in front of the fan needs to be at least 1.5 metres, and then for everything else, it needs to be 2 metres. If we put a barrier in front of the heat pump, like a fence post, like we've got in this image here, then what happens is, as the air is being drawn in, the heat gets stripped out, so the cold air will hit the barrier and recirculate round. As it recirculates round, it's going to start stripping heat out each pass. So the air around the heat pump will get colder and colder and colder until the heat pump will freeze up. So making sure that we've got clearances as per manufacturer's instructions is critical. The better the airflow, the better a heat pump will perform. So there's some of the noise and sighting requirements for the Baxi heat pump. For further information, contact your area sales manager or go to baxi.co.uk. baxitreiner.co.uk/training.